Hello and welcome to another edition of the Invest in GH webinar series. I'm your host, Prince Henry Danquah. This webinar is proudly brought to you by Invest in GH. Invest in GH is the leading provider of financial news and education in Ghana. Over the years, our news, magazines, and more recently, our webinars have been delivered to thousands of people in Ghana and beyond. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us this morning. And whatever time it is, wherever you are, we are grateful to have you today. Over the years, we've had webinars that have covered topics in investments in mutual funds, stocks, cryptocurrencies, and real estate investments. We've also discussed how to achieve financial independence. All our previous webinars are available for streaming on our YouTube channel, Invest in GH. Invest in GH. So visit YouTube and type Invest in GH and watch all our previous webinars. Please do also subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you'll be notified whenever we go live. And also like and share our videos to your friends so that they can also get educated. This webinar is streaming live on our YouTube channel, Invest in GH. So if you know anyone who is unable to join us here, kindly send the YouTube live link to the person. We'll be providing the link in the chat section very soon so that you can copy it and then share it out to anyone who is unable to join us here. Also, if during the course of the webinar you have any questions for our speaker today, please direct the questions through the chat session on Zoom or under the comment section if you are streaming on YouTube. Today, we'll discuss the Ghana Commodity Exchange. The Ghana Commodity Exchange. And to take us through this discussion, we have a well-experienced speaker. He has been on the exchange. He's part of the team that set up the exchange as well. He's in the person of Mr. Robert Dowuona Owoo. And we are pleased to have him here this morning with us. Let me give you a brief introduction of Mr. Owoo, and then we can proceed from there. Okay. Mr. Robert Owoo is a lawyer by profession, and he is currently the COO, Chief Operating Officer of the Ghana Commodity Exchange. Prior to his role as COO of the Ghana Commodity Exchange, Robert was the head of policy, research, and IT at the Security and Exchange Commission Ghana, where he was also very instrumental in the establishment of an alternative exchange for trading in securities, and also the establishment of the Ghana Investment and Securities Institute. Robert holds an MSc in Finance and Mathematics from Exeter University in the UK, and a BSc in Mathematics from the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. We are pleased to have you here, Robert, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Prince.
All right, so I believe you have a lot to tell us, so I wouldn't waste much of your time. I'll just leave you to do your thing. And then after your presentation, we'll respond to some of the questions that will be raised by the audience.
Okay, thank you very much, Prince. And good morning once again to you all. And thank you for making time to participate in this webinar series being organized by Invest in Ghana. As you are aware, we have over the years been talking about establishing exchanges around Africa, or should I say emerging markets. And Ghana, being an emerging market, was not left behind in the conversation. Today's series is going to talk about the Ghana Commodity Exchange, but it's important that before you understand the exchange, you need to understand why we actually needed to even have an exchange in the first place, and then how we modeled the exchange in such a way that it will solve the why, and then also talk a little bit about the third leg, which is about the political will to establish an exchange. Before I start or delve into it, one thing that I want us all to take our minds to is that when it comes to exchanges, there's no one model. Every exchange is set up to solve a problem within the jurisdiction that that exchange is found. And so our exchange may not necessarily sound like the exchanges you know, although it will have all the characteristics of a commodity exchange. But by the end of the presentation, I'm hoping that you would understand the Ghanaian model. And then anytime you want to deal with the Ghana Commodity Exchange, you would bear in mind that this is a Ghanaian model that suits our environment, and that is what we have designed for ourselves. Um, I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible. And so my first slide, which is going to talk, or my first few slides, is going to talk about why a commodity exchange is going to be in the form of a play or a script that I've tried to put together. So you're not going to get your normal presentation where you find all big words and trying to understand what the big words are and all that. I'm going to try as much as possible to demystify all the myth about the Ghana Commodity Exchange by running us through a script. So I'll need you to pay close attention and then follow the storyline as I continue. So the first script that I'm going to be discussing will be from the farmer's point of view, the person who brings their commodity to the exchange for it to be sold for them. So um, for this particular script, I'm going to have about 8 different characters. I'm calling them Nanoli, who is a Makola market queen. I have another person called Ifudela, who is an agro processor. I have Abna, who sells grains in Sredro. I have Akosia, who also sells grains in Techiman. Then I have Alidu, who is a farmer in Tamale. I have Stephen, who is a banker. Alfonso, who is a middleman or somebody who normally goes to the farmers and buys the commodities of them. And then I have Obodai, who is assistant to Nanole. Remember the characters. Nanole is the market queen. Efodela is the agro processor. Abna Sredru, grain trader. Akosia Tichiman, grain trader. Alidu Tamale farmer. Stephen the banker. Alfonso the middleman. And Obodai the assistant to Nanole. Okay. So now let's follow the script. So Efodela, who is our group processor, somewhere in Accra, visits Nanoli and contracts with Nanoli to buy 1,000 bags of maize. Remember, Nanoli is the market queen. So Nanoli calls her friend Akosia. Akosia, who is in Techiman, they are friends, and then asks Akosia to supply her with 1,000 bags of maize. Akosia says she needs the money before she can supply the maize. So Nanole sends her assistant to Bodai all the way to Techiman to take the money to Akosia so that he can bring the maize back to Accra, to the Makola market. Then she can then sell it or give it to Ifodela. However, on the way, armed robbers attacked the bus on which Obodai, who is the assistant to Nanole, was traveling. But he was very lucky. He narrowly escaped with the money and his life, of course. So the story continues. Obodai arrived safely in Techiman with the money, but Akosia, the Techiman grain trader, has only 500 bags of maize in her stock. Remember that Akosia had already told Nanole that she could supply the 1,000 bags, but apparently she just had 500 bags in her stock. Akosia then introduces her friend Abna, who is in Sredro, who can supply the other 500 bags to Obodai. Obodai needing the 500 bags to add to the 500 he's getting from Techiman, has to travel to Sredro to transact business with Abna, who he doesn't know, but because of introduction from Akosia, he goes to Sredro to buy the grains from. Obodai pays and takes delivery of the maize, that's the 1,000 bags, and then returns to Accra. Back in Accra, whilst discharging the maize or the bags of maize, Nanoli, who is the Makola market queen, if you remember, records 990 bags instead of the 1,000 bags. So 10 bags were missing. It doesn't know how it happened, whether it's due to spillage, it could be due to it falling off the track, but 10 bags were missing. Efodela, who is the agro processor who was contracting with Nanoli, decides to do a random testing of the maize and realizes that only 900 bags are fit for human consumption. Efodela is so angry, he cancels the contract with Nanoli, the market queen. Remember, Efodela wanted 1,000 bags. He had gone to contract with somebody, a processor, or somebody to supply 1,000 bags. Now Nanoli has sold him. Instead of 1,000 bags, he only has 900 bags. Efodela could not meet his contract with his clients. Nanoli can also not meet a contract obligations with their clients, which is Efodela, and therefore loses out on that transaction, loses money. Akosua loses the trust of her friend Nanoli, because if Akosua had kept her word and supplied 1,000 bags, probably all this would not have happened. And Obodai, who is the assistant to Nanoli, loses his livelihood as an assistant to Nanoli because Nanoli was not able to transact the business and there's no money to pay Obodai for all the hassle he went through. So this is the first part of this script is happening just in Accra, around the Makola market and the farms or the markets in other regions. Now, meanwhile, in Tamale, Alidu, my friend, has 100 acres of land to cultivate maize. But Alidu does not have enough money to do so. Alidu, of course, approached the bank for a loan to be able to go and cultivate the land. But Stephen, who is the banker, refused the request because Alidu did not have collateral. Alidu calls on his family, friends, family members, and is able to cultivate 100 out of the 10 out of the 100 acres of land that he intended to cultivate. At harvest, he is able to harvest only 500 bags of the maize at the cost of 20 cedis per bag. He needs to sell them off quickly to be able to offset his debt, which is to his family members. He does not have a ready buyer, so approaches Alfonso, who is the middleman. Alfonso tells him that the only price he could offer for a bag of maize is 10 cedis. Remember that Alidu has spent a cost of about 20 cedis per bag, and Alfonso is offering him 10 cedis per bag. Well, Alfonso tells Alidu that this is what the people, other people in other markets are willing to pay for the bag. Alidu, having no choice because he needs the money, sells the maize at 10 cedis to be able to offset at least part of his debts. Now, who is the happiest man? Alfonso. He takes the bag of maize and amid smiles and whistling, he drives away. So this story that I've given you is from the seller's point of view. And I want you to absorb that script because that will let us understand why we need a commodity exchange. And then we can look at the model for the exchange. Now, from the client's point of view, that's a buyer. I want us again to do a little exercise here. I want you all to choose a city of your choice around the world. I would choose Accra. I don't know where you are logging in from, but you just choose a city that you know very well. Now, cast your mind around. Visualize on the number of markets in that city. So, for example, if I take Accra, I can count the Makola market, I can count the Kaneshi market, Agbogloshi market, the Tuesday market, I can count the Malamata market, so many markets just here in Accra. I'm sure whatever city you choose also, you realize that there are different markets. Now, depending on the commodity you want to buy, the price may differ from market to market. So assuming I want to buy, say, tomato, the tomato price may be different in Makola as opposed to going to maybe the Tuesday market. Again, the prices that are quoted today may differ significantly from tomorrow's prices without warning. So you could go today and prices are increased by 10 cedis or 100%, and you would not even understand why that happened. Again, depending on which market you find yourself in, the quantity and quality of the commodity may differ. So if you've been to the market before to buy, say, tomato, sometimes they put them in a basket and they pad the bottom of the basket with papers and other materials. So when they put in the tomato and you look at it, you feel it's heaped, only for you to pour it to realize that it's all padded at the bottom of the basket. Again, the quality may differ because they put the best quality on top. What is down there may be rotten and you may not get what you want. Depending on which market again and how it's organized. If it's a very organized market where the market queen is actually in charge, making sure the right quality, the right quantity is going out, you may go back if you don't get whatever it is that you intended to buy and you get a refund or get it replaced. But depending on the market and how it's organized, goods bought which does not meet your requirements cannot be returned. And we are all um, we all know this as a fact in our various markets. So cast your mind around the world, any market that any city that you find yourself in, look at the markets and try and create a scenario within those markets of some of these things that I'm describing. So this is typically what happens, say, in the market here in Accra. Right. Clearly, there is a problem. You realize that there's lack of access to wider market because if Nanole had access to larger market, she wouldn't have relied on a friend. You realize that if Alidu had opportunity to sell to so many people, he wouldn't have gone to Alfonso. There's lack of trust because the Akosia could have asked that she was going to send the commodity and then Nanole pays her the commodity for the commodity by maybe mobile money or something. But because they don't trust each other, she asked even her friend to bring the money to her. Rampant contract default. The quality, the quantity that you want is not what you get. In the earlier scenario that I painted, you realize, for example, that the bags got to Accra short by 10, and then also about 100 or 90 of them were not fit for consumption. There's coordination failure, there's high transaction costs, there's information asymmetry. You don't even know what the prices are on a daily basis. You don't know when prices are going to change. You don't know when decisions have been made by the various markets to increase prices, among other things. So clearly, there are a lot of challenges in the value chain, right from the farm gate all the way to our markets before we as consumers even buy the commodity to go and use. So in such a situation, a right solution is needed. What you need is a marketing system that is reliable, orderly, efficient, and transparent. Something that will make everyone better off. Something that will make the market woman happy, that will make the farmer happy, will make the processor happy, will make everybody along the value chain happy. And that is the kind of solution that you need. This is the typical day-to-day story for our farmers, traders, processors, and many others in the market. And a solution that works for all is required. We're looking at an exchange that, or we decided to look at an exchange that will serve all of us, connect us, create trust among us, reduce our risk, reduce our costs, and finally improve on our livelihoods. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the cast for the initial script that I just showed you. Nanole, Ifodela, Alidu, Stephen, Abna, Akosia, Afozo, and Obodai, all bowing to you. And I hope you don't forget this story because you need it to understand the model that we designed for the Ghana Commodity Exchange. So, by definition, an exchange or a commodity exchange is a central, organized, neutral, and transparent platform for buying and selling standardized contracts of various commodities. So I'm going to try and explain about 5 words in here, which is very key to understanding commodity exchanges. First of all, is central. If you look at the scenarios that I painted, within the city, there's about 5 or 6 different markets, depending on where you go, depending on it depends on the commodity you get, the price you get for the commodity, the transportation you have to pay, among other things. A commodity exchange is central. It means that all these markets come in or are connected together at a central point. It's organized, meaning that there are rules that govern how this market or platform operates. So you don't just do things haphazardly. You don't just decide that I want to buy anything that is there without having due course to the standards that have been set or whatever rules that have been set. It's neutral. Neutral in the sense that there's no human intervention in terms of the prices. It's all about demand and supply. The exchange or a commodity exchange plays a facilitating role. It doesn't play as a player within the space of trade. And it's transparent. Everybody can see what the prices are, and everybody can see how much a commodity was bought at every point in time. And what is sold there are standardized contracts of various commodities. Now, when we talk about standardized contracts, what we mean is that the whatever is sold, whatever commodity that is sold, has been standardized. It means that it has commercial value. It can be bought, it can be sold, and can be consumed. And so, for example, let's say we take maize or soya as an example. You could standardize soya because it has commercial value. It's produced, it can be bought, it can be sold, it can be consumed. And when you take that commodity and you decide on how that commodity should look like, what parameters make that particular commodity what it is, if you decide to have elements within that parameter that determines how the commodity is going to be packaged, how the commodity is going to be delivered, how payment is going to be made, all these things constitute standardized contracts. And these are what are sold on or traded on commodity exchanges. Now, trading, when you read the literature, it will tell you an exchange could be spot or it could be futures. A spot exchange is where delivery is against payment. So you pay, you take physical delivery of the commodity. A futures is where prices are specified today, but delivery is at a later date. So you agree on the price for a particular commodity. Contracts are created on the futures exchange. However, delivery is at a later date, which is also agreed. It can be physical or it can be electronic. Okay, so you could actually have a physical trading floor where you have human beings in there interacting among themselves, or you could have it electronic where people sit behind their computers, log in, and then do the trades. Then exchanges or commodity exchanges operate within legal parameters. As I said, they are organized. So they have their own rules, and then they have rules set by a national regulator. And commodities to be traded could be anything that has commercial value, can be produced, bought, sold, and then consumed. So with this definition and the scenarios that I painted, now what is the Ghana Commodity Exchange? I've tried to break it down for us in these boxes here. So the Ghana Commodity Exchange, first of all, being a commodity exchange, is central, is organized, which means that it has rules, is neutral. We play the facilitating role, and we are transparent. Remember that I said an exchange could be spot or futures. The Ghana Commodity Exchange is a spot electronic platform. So it's a spot exchange where delivery is against payment. Now, this is very important. This distinction is very, very important because I've heard people asking me questions, for example, about the um, commodity exchange in, say, South Africa or the one in Chicago. And all these exchanges are futures exchanges. They are not spot exchanges. So there may be certain characteristics that may differ from what we have here. So let's keep that in mind that what we are operating is a spot electronic platform for buying and selling the standardized contract of various agricultural commodities. Now, the Ghana Commodity Exchange is an agricultural commodities to start with. It doesn't mean that it can't have other commodities on it. Actually, we've actually built an exchange that is very robust and can take on any commodity. But we have started with agricultural commodities. So what we trade are agricultural commodities and not metals like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or any of the mercantile exchanges in Europe. We do agricultural commodities. So that's also another distinction that I want you to bear in mind. Now, the exchange is a membership-based exchange where settlement is T plus one, T being the day of trade. What this means is that before you can trade on the exchange, you must be a member of the exchange, that's the Ghana Commodity Exchange, the GCX. To be a member of the Ghana Commodity Exchange, you need to go through certain requirements. Um, for the purposes of this presentation, I will not delve into the requirements itself, but I'll be glad to share with you later on, maybe during the Q&A or when you visit our website. But basically, you need to be a member of the exchange to either buy for yourself or buy on behalf of others, to be able to, abide by the rules of the exchange and then trade on the exchange. Now, when you sell your commodity on the Ghana Commodity Exchange, the T+1 there means that a day after the trade, you get settled for your trade or your sale. And then the day after the trade, the buyer can go for their commodities from the warehouse. So we have a T+1 settlement and T+1 delivery system. Now, the Ghana Commodity Exchange is electronic, and so trading can be done remotely, electronically from offices, homes, farms, etc. You don't need to be at the Ghana Commodity Exchange offices to do your trade. Once you are a member and you are trained on our electronic systems, you can sit in your farm once you have an internet connection in say Wa somewhere or Bubuvori somewhere, sit there and then log in and do your trades as often as you want. Now we are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and our members are governed by the exchange's own set of rules. The Ghana Commodity Exchange is a unique model that was built for Ghana, and therefore our exchange is backed by what we call a credible warehouse receipt system. My subsequent slides, I'll explain what I mean by a credible warehouse receipt system. Now, this is also a very important distinction from other exchanges because there are certain countries that have exchanges that are not backed by any warehouse receipt system, and they just have the structure there as an exchange where buyers come and sellers come and they come up with contracts that they attempt to trade among themselves. There are certain countries also that do not have exchanges but have a credible warehouse receipt system running. But ours is a unique model where we fuse the two. We have an exchange backed by a credible warehouse receipt system. Now, remember in my previous slides, I said that there has to be the why. And when we realize the why, which is some of the challenges I highlighted in my previous slides, we decided to come up with a model that would help us solve this why. And the model is an exchange backed by a credible warehouse receipt system. Currently, commodities traded on the Ghana Commodity Exchange include maize, soya, rice, sorghum, and sesame. Okay. So our mission is to connect markets, connect people, provide opportunities using the most modern, interactive, and appropriate technology that meets the needs of our markets and stakeholders. So we connect markets like I described earlier on to you. We connect the people, buyers and sellers, and we provide opportunities, numerous opportunities for both the buyers and sellers and everybody along the value chain. Doesn't matter what you do. It could be that you are working in the warehouse as a loader. There's opportunity there for you. It could be that you are into logistics, delivery logistics, there's opportunity there for you. It could be that you are into IT, there's opportunity there for you. So it doesn't matter where you find yourself, there's always an opportunity, and that's the opportunities that we try to create as part of our mission. Our vision is to transform Ghana's economy by creating prosperity for all commodity value chains and become a regional and global trading hub for all commodities. So we are not just looking at Ghana, but we want to go regional and global and be the trading hub for all commodities. We are relatively young. The company itself was registered in 2017 as a company limited by shares, but we didn't start operations until November 2018. So I guess we are barely 2 years, we are just about 2-something years old. And we are 100% owned by the government of Ghana deliberately, but there are plans to invite investors in the near future for ownership. So government intends in the very near future to let go some of its shares for the private sector to also participate in the ownership structure of the Ghana Commodity Exchange. But we are currently 100% owned by government deliberately, because the exchange is a very strategic institution, one, and private sector needs to see the model working before they can venture into bringing in funds to be part of the ownership. So that's what we're currently doing. So our services and products, we provide professional and secured warehousing and storage services. When I talk about professional and secured warehousing storage services, what I mean is that you bring your commodity to us, we keep it safe for you in the warehouse under the best warehouse management practices. Okay, we take insurance on our warehouse, we take insurance on the commodity that is in the warehouse, among other things, regular fumigation regimes, everything that will keep the commodity safe for you. That's what we do in there. Now, quality management and assurance activities also go on in the warehouses, because you want to, we've standardized the contracts. We have to make sure that the commodities meet the standards that we have set for ourselves. So, for example, if it's a grade one commodity, that talks about a certain moisture level, talks about a certain level of cleanness. It talks about a certain level, the way the bag should be, whether it should be in 50 kg bags or 80 kg bags, whatever it is. Somebody needs to look after that, and that's what we do. Then there's the commodity certification, deciding whether this particular commodity that was brought in meets a grade one or a grade two or a grade three or a grade four, depending on the grading parameters that we've set for ourselves. The price and market information dissemination. On a daily basis, we send out price information and other market information to our members and the general public. So on a daily basis, you know what's happening. We link markets together. So we bring in somebody who has soya in, say, wants to sell. Somebody in Accra who he doesn't know at all may want to buy, or somebody has rice, maybe somewhere around Drabin, that wants to sell. Somebody in the Western region may want rice to buy. We link these markets together. Logistics, we help with making sure that when you buy your commodities gets to the destination that you want to send it to. We don't do the logistics ourselves, but we help facilitate the logistics. Then we have the warehouse receipt issuance. I'll talk a bit more about those ones. The warehouse receipt financing, I'll explain that also in next couple of slides. Then the risk management. So we take performance bonds, we have settlement guarantee funds to ensure that when you bring your commodity to us and the commodity is, for example, sold, you get your money. It doesn't matter what it is, you make sure you get your money. And then if there are any defaults or whatever, we can fall on the settlement guarantee funds to make sure that it's done. We make sure that we take insurance on the building and the commodity itself. We have performance guarantees that go to guarantee that whatever you buy from us is exactly what the contract says it is, so that if it's not, we have to make do and make sure that you get exactly what it is that you intended to buy. We offer the trading services, the trading, clearing, and settlement services, and we do a lot of training and outreach services. This webinar that we're having now is all part of the capacity building, letting people understand the Ghana Commodity Exchange. Some of you may want to venture into some kind of employment along the value chain. These are all things that we do to try and get people interested in the Ghana Commodity Exchange and also to understand the value chains that we deal in. So the key elements that makes up all this exchange that I've described is the standardized contracts. Very, very key. Now, the standardized contract, like I explained, tells you exactly what it is that you are buying. So it tells you that you are buying, let's say, white maize, grade 3. It's in WA. It's going to be in 50 kg bags. It's going to have a moisture content of so much. It's going to have this percentage of foreign material. Everything that you need to know about the commodity is in the standardized contract, and that is what you are buying. But these contracts are backed by the commodities that are physically in the warehouse. Now, I've already described the members who are the only ones who are able to trade on the floor of the exchange. It doesn't mean that if you are not a member, you can't trade. What it means is that if you are not a member, you have to trade through a member who has been authorized to buy and sell on behalf of others. those that we call the broking members or brokers. So we have trading members who buy and sell for themselves, and then we have the broking members who buy and sell on behalf of others. And these companies or these individuals also have representatives who do the actual trading on their behalf. Then we have the trading operations, which is remote. It's an electronic trading engine that matches itself, no human intervention. We just do all the back office stuff of making sure the system is running, do your inputs, system matches it. If it doesn't match the prices, then there's no trade. We have the central depository operations that is linked to our warehouses to ensure that um, receipts that are generated at the warehouse are electronically stored. Now, the central depository is basically like a bank that stores all the electronic receipts that are created all around the country. So our warehouse in WAD generates a receipt of a commodity that has been deposited in the warehouse. That receipt is stored electronically in the central depository, and that's what they do. So that's where if you also buy a commodity, the seller's ownership is transferred to you, the buyer, so you could go and pick up your commodity. Assurance things are done. The delivery logistics, the warehouse receipt financing, which I'll explain in a bit, the market data, training and certification, customized technology. And of course, as I said, it's an organized exchange, and therefore we have to abide by rules. So there are external rules like the Securities Industry Act, the Community Exchange Regulations, and the Warehouse Receipts Regulation, which has been promulgated or is being enforced by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And we have the exchange's own rules. So this, in a nutshell, talks about what the key operational elements of the exchange is. Now, what's the warehouse receipt system? Remember that I said our model is very unique. It is a commodity exchange that is backed by a credible warehouse receipt system. So I'm going to define what a warehouse receipt system is. The simple way I want you to see a warehouse receipt system is it's a system that puts together three major um, elements that allows for the smooth running of the whole exchange. So one is storage, the other is that's having access to storage, the other is having access to credit, and the other is having access to market. So any depositor of commodity and agricultural commodity that brings to our warehouse must have access to storage. Once they have access to storage, then that component of the warehouse receipt system is solved. The next is having access to credit, meaning that there must be a system that provides financing to depositors of those commodities in the warehouses in such a way that they can use that receipt that they obtain from the warehouses to secure funds from a financial institution. Okay, so that is access to credit, and that's another leg of a warehouse receipt system. Then the last is access to market, allowing depositors to be able to sell or buy their commodities using the receipts and then the delivery processes within the warehouse space. So this three makes up what we call the warehouse receipt system: access to storage, access to credit or finance, and then access to markets. So GCX, as I said, because it's backed by a warehouse receipt system, must have warehouses so that we can be able to make sure that there's access to storage for our farmers. Now, our model here is to take the exchange to the grassroots of production. So we just don't build warehouses or acquire warehouses just because it's a warehouse, but we strategically choose the size of our warehouses, and it must be close to the route of production. And we have four different strategies of acquiring warehouses. So we have the farmer to farmer group strategy, then we have the community, then we have the district, and then we have the regional warehouses. So regional warehouses within a capacity of 3,000 to 10,000 must be GCS certified, must be able to issue electronic warehouse receipts, provide electronic warehouse receipt financing services, laboratory to grade and certify the commodities, It must have logistics and dispatch services, collateral management services, and the warehouse management systems must be linked to the GCS trading system. Strategy 2, which is the district warehouses of any warehouse within the capacity of 5,000 and 2,000 metric ton, certified by GCX, issue warehouse receipts, electronic warehouse receipts, provide electronic warehouse receipt financing services, laboratory to grade and certify the commodities, collateral management systems, and the management systems must be linked to the GCS trading system. The three is the community warehouse. These are largely aggregation centers. Okay, so between capacity of 100 to 300 metric tons, they are normally within the farms or within the communities where the farms are located, and they are principally for aggregation and will transit to the district or regional warehouses. They are normally managed by the farmers and farmer cooperative groups themselves, supported by GCS because of the post-harvest management practices. And we provide them with training on how to ensure that they practice good post-harvest management techniques. And then once economic volumes are reached, they are transferred to the district or regional warehouses. So the first strategy is to use warehouses belonging to individuals or groups, but this must be within the capacity of 5,000 and 2,000, just like the district warehouses. GCS must certify those warehouses. GCS must provide the collateral management services and then link those warehouses to the GCS platform for trading. Now, strategies 2 to 4 is what we currently using. This is because we don't have warehouses yet that are large enough, capacity of 3,000 to 10,000. Our warehouses are on average about 1,000 metric ton warehouses. So they fall within this category here. We have a few community warehouses also falling within this one here. And then we have certain warehouses belonging to private individuals or cooperatives that we work with. Okay, that also meets this criteria. So strategies 2 to 4 is what is fully being practiced now. We are working towards getting those regional warehouses also up and running. So these are our current warehouse locations. We have roughly about 10 warehouses. Afram Plains, we have Kumasi, we have Draben, we have Ejura, we have Winchi, Kintampo, Tamale. We have one in Bolga that we are waiting approval from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Sandema, we have a community warehouse in Tumu, and then we have another warehouse in Wa. Now, I must say that all these warehouses are certified warehouses. And when we talk about certified GCS warehouses, it means that these are warehouses that have been certified by the Ghana Standards Authority. They've been certified by the Food and Drugs Authority. They've been certified by the Fire Service. They all have insurances on both the warehouses and whatever commodities that will be kept in those warehouses. The processes in the warehouses have been certified by the Ghana Standards Authority. The equipment such as the weighing scale, the moisture meters, and all have been certified by the Ghana Standards Authority. And finally, the Securities and Exchange has licensed the warehouses. So until all this is done, we don't have a certified GCS warehouse. So please know that all these warehouses have undergone all that process to be able to become GCS certified warehouses to do what we do. So what's the warehouse receipt? So basically the warehouse receipt is the financial instrument that signifies the quantity, quality of a commodity that has been deposited in a secure warehouse. So in other words, the receipt serves as a title to the underlying commodity deposited in the warehouse. Now, this is a sample of a receipt to let you understand what it's all about. So when you take your commodity to a GCS warehouse and it undergoes all the quality assurance processes, you are issued with a receipt like this, which is translated electronically to the GCS central depository. Now, the receipt tells you about who the crop owner is, whether it's a member depositing for themselves or a member who is depositing it on behalf of a client. Now, a client is anybody who is not a member but wants to also participate in the GCS trading system, and they go through a broking member. So the receipt would indicate who the member is and then who the client is. Then there's details of the crop, the production area, the commodity itself. So, for example, maize, the commodity class, is it white or yellow maize? Where is the origin? It's coming from where? What was the harvest year? 2021. What is the grade? So you have all these things there. Then you have the symbol. Now, these symbols are symbols that have been designed by us to help us track the commodity and where it's coming from. So when you see a symbol like GWAWM2, what it's just saying is that G, the first symbol G there stands for Ghana. Okay, and then because like I said, we want to be regional, we're going to go global. So assuming that we have to issue receipts for commodity coming from Burkina Faso, we need to identify which receipt it is that we are trading on the exchange. So you have Ghana, the WA there stands for WA. So if it's Tamale, you get a TA. Then the WM there stands for white maize. If it's yellow maize, it will be YM, and the two there stands for the grade. So this is a Ghana WA warehouse white maize 2. Then the number of bags, then there's the net weight, and then the lot size. Then we have a tracking code for every warehouse receipt that is created in our warehouses so that we can track each and every receipt and the commodities or the quantity of commodities that have been deposited in the warehouses. And then you have where the warehouse is. Then you have the crop history when it was brought to the warehouse, when it was graded, when it was deposited, everything in there. Then, of course, there are certain mandatory fees that you have to pay for. And so that's also stated clearly on the receipt. And then once you are okay with it, you sign, and our staff at the warehouse also sign. Once that is done, it's translated into the um, electronic form into the central depository, and that's when it can be available for trading or for whatever purpose that you need it for. Now, the warehouse receipt can be used for various purposes. One is for trading. So I have a receipt indicating all the parameters that I just showed you, and I want to sell the commodity. I make it available for trading on the GCS platform. So the member goes into the system, inputs the receipt details, and then inputs the price for which he wants to sell the commodity. Somebody on the other side who also wants to buy will go in there, see it. If they are interested, they also input their offer, and then if there is a match, we are there. Now, another very unique thing that you can use the receipt for. Supposing you have a receipt and you do not intend to sell your commodity immediately. You want to keep it in the warehouse for some time because you believe that prices may go up in the very couple of months, or you think that you want to keep it for now. And although you know prices are not going to go up, you don't expect them to also go down. So you just want to keep it there for a while and then sell it off. But you need money immediately to undertake certain activities. You can actually present your warehouse receipt to a partner financial institution that we work with, and they would advance money to you. So I have a receipt for, say, 1,000 bags of maize. Remember the scenario we painted with Stephen and Alidu, where Alidu needed money to go and cultivate his farm and he couldn't find the money because he didn't have collateral. In this case, your collateral is the number of bags that you have in the GCS warehouse. Now, the financial institutions, our partner financial institutions, are very happy to advance credit to you because they know that that commodity is safe within the GCS warehouse, and that if it defaults, it can be sold off to defray the cost. They know what the grade is. They know what the prices are for such a grade, and all they need to know about the commodity. So you go to any of our partner financial institutions, present your receipt, they can then give you financing to go and do what exactly it is that you want to do, and then keep the commodity there. So if the receipt is for 3 months, within the 3 months, they give you that short-term loan. Within that 3 months, when you are ready to sell off the commodity, you sell, pay off the bank, and take the rest of the money away. Now, our partner institutions, um, you can get more details on them from the exchange's website. But basically, we have the about 4 rural banks also working with us currently. Then we have a microfinance called the Rural Development Fund, and also another one called the Success for People. Now, these are partner financial institutions that we are working with currently to do the warehouse receive financing. We have certain commercial banks that we've recently signed agreements with, but are yet to start um, operations or start giving financing based on the receipts. But these are actively going on now, and I think and I believe it's going very well with the support of Apex, ARP, Apex Bank, and the rural banks, Rural Development Fund, and Success for People. I believe that the farmers who are accessing this credit facilities using their commodities are very happy. Now they don't have to think about where to go and get collateral from. Their toil is allowing them to get some financing, which is a very good innovation that I think uh, has come to the financing of agro products within the industry. So why bring your commodities to the Ghana Commodity Exchange? You could decide to go to the market and go and sell it. Yes, you could do that. But then we are offering you certain things that the market cannot offer you. Yes, you go to the market. I don't know how many of you have been to a market, a typical marketplace. There are places where you could store your commodities if you are not able to sell. Let's say you come from the village, you bring your commodities there. Somebody will charge you to store it there. And if you are not able to sell after a certain time and it goes bad, well, that's your problem. He will charge you for storing it there. What we are saying is that if you bring your commodity to the Ghana Commodity Exchange, and we store that commodity in our warehouse because it meets all the parameters, your commodity is going to enjoy insurance. And the insurance is not just on the commodity, but on the warehouse itself. So if there's flood, there's fire, you don't have to bother yourself. Insurance will take care of it. Unlike if there's a flood now or there's fire in the market, everything gets burned down. That's it. You are done. You've lost your commodity because it's not insured. GCS warehouses, it's insured. We do regular fumigation to preserve the commodity against live insects, which is very common among grains. Then we do proper stacking of the commodities for aeration. So we don't just throw the commodities into the warehouse, put them on pallets, make sure they are stacked in such a way that there's a lot of air passing through them so that the commodities do not get moldy and then get spoiled. We also make sure that the commodities are kept safe for you. So when you bring your 1,000 bags there, it's kept safe for you until it's sold off and you get your money. Now, the access to credit, I mean, you can have all the commodities, walk into a bank, and no bank will give you money using your commodity as collateral. The best way you could have is if you have it in a warehouse, you go to the bank comes and locks it up and then gives you money. The commodity is there until you pay, the commodity can be there. One day you go and open it and everything is gone rotten. And then you lose out at the end of the day, but still you have to pay the bank for the money that you took. In our case, the commodities which is now safekeeping, you take the receipt to the bank can actually give you what we call aggregation financing, which means that financing 100% of your commodities at the market price. In this case, the ownership changes. You give away the whole of your commodity in exchange for money to go back and aggregate some more. Whereas with the warehouse receive financing, a portion of the commodities are stored, but are financed, but you keep ownership of the commodity that you put in the warehouse. So I go to the bank with my receipt, having 1,000 bags. The bank can decide to finance about 700 bags. They know that one bag is costing, let's say, 10 cedis. So the bank can give you the 7,000 cedis to be able to go back and do whatever you want to do, but you still maintain ownership of the commodity. And then whenever you are ready to sell off the commodity, you sell it off, and then the bank takes off its 7,000. The remainder of the funds comes to you. Then, of course, access to market. You have access to buyers in Ghana and the sub-region. So because you don't have to go anywhere, it's a centralized market, remember, and buyers are logging in from all over. Wherever once you are a member, you can actually log in, or somebody in Burkina Faso wants to buy maize, they could contact the broker here who would do that trade for them. And then our systems are very easy to use. That's why anybody can use it anywhere. You could use it on the farms, anywhere at all that you want. All you need is basic understanding of technology, and then you are there. Why buy from us? Quality is assured, quantity is assured, Quality is assured because we've standardized those contracts. So when we tell you it's grade one, it's grade one. If you say what you are buying is grade two, it's grade two. And you know what the parameters of a grade one or grade two are because they are in the contract. So you would know what it is that you are buying. The quantity is assured because most of our contracts that we trade currently are in 50 kg bags. And so once you buy, you know that the quantity you are buying, if you want 500 bags of 50 kgs, you know what it is that you are buying. 1,000 bags of 50 kg, you know you are buying 50,000 kg of that particular commodity that you want. From delivery, as I said, a day after the trade, you can actually go take delivery of your commodity. It's up to you. We give you a leeway of 8 days to even take your time, look for transportation or logistics, or assist you with logistics to pick it up. But if you want it the very next day, you can actually pick up the very next day. Then the ease of accessibility to our warehouses. As I said, we strategically select these warehouses. And so we make sure that a warehouse that we have has easy access so that when you purchase commodities, you can easily go there and pick it up. And then the performance guarantees that we have on the quality and the quantity ensures that if for whatever reason you buy the commodity and it doesn't meet the quality that we promised, or the quantity is below what we promised, we make do for you. So let's say you go to the warehouse, you pick the bags, and then you want 50,000 kg. So 1,000 of the 50 kg bags is weighed, and then we realize that it's below 50,000. We have to make do and give you grains to make it up to 50,000. So these are things that should encourage you to buy from us. You don't have to run around. You don't have to be like Obodai, who needs to take money out to the field to go and buy. All you do is deposit the money at the GCX. We link you up to the seller. A trade is done, and then voila, you have your commodities sitting with you. You don't even have to move from your office or your warehouse to be able to get this done for you. And I think it's very good. It would the risk of traveling with all these accidents on the road and everything is very minimized for you. And I think this is a very good um, opportunity to be part of the GCS trade. So now, this is, I think, my last slide. This is going to summarize the whole operations of the GCS. So please follow me as I go along it. The GCS General Solution Architecture. So you have a seller of the commodity. There must be a buyer of the commodity. So seller has, let's say, the grains. The buyer has the money. And then the GCS trading floor. I'm using this a trading floor as a physical trading floor, but this is all electronic now. But just for you to understand, um, excuse me, the way the operations work. And our trading floor, we have the central depository and then the clearinghouse, also all linked to the trading system. The seller takes their commodities to the warehouse, which must be a GCS certified warehouse. I explained what it takes to certify a GCS warehouse. So he goes to the GCS warehouse. You see that track there? That's another opportunity for logistics because these grains has to move to the warehouse. Once it gets to the warehouse, it undergoes all the quality processes. We take samples, we grade them, we weigh the commodity, we generate the receipt, everything is agreed upon. Depositor, that the seller signs the receipt, and then it is transferred electronically to the central depository at the GCX. Now, the buyer of the commodity on the day of trade also ensures that he has money in a paying account that has been set up by the Ghana Commodity Exchange. Ensure that there's money in the account that should be able to buy the commodities that he wants to buy because you know what the prices are initially on the exchange, and then you also have in mind how much you want to spend to buy the particular commodity. So make sure you have enough money in the account before you can do the trade. And our central depository is linked to all these accounts. Sorry, our clearing and settlement um, unit is linked to all these bank accounts. So they can, on the day of trade, see whether you have money in the account as a buyer and also verify whether the seller wants to sell the commodities. Actually, the seller or the owner of the commodities in the warehouse by verifying using the tracking code of the warehouse receipt. So we can do all that within our system. On the day of trade, the representative of the seller goes onto the system. I'm calling it trading floor here just for the purposes of this illustration. Seller's representative, whoever has been authorized to go into the system, goes into the system. The buyer's rep also goes into the system. Both of them, the one puts in their bid price, the other puts in the offer. There is a match. If there is a match, it goes through the GCS trading system. And if there is a match, that's if the prices match, whatever the seller wanted is what the buyer is also offering and all that. There is notification to the seller, and then there's also notification to the buyer. So the seller gets to know that, and that's the transparency I was talking about. The seller gets to know that his commodity has been sold. The buyer also gets notification that he's also been able to purchase the quantity and quality of the commodity that he intended to buy. Once that is confirmed, and our trading system communicates that to our clearing and settlement unit, and they in turn transfer the money within 1 day to a bank of the choice of the seller. And then at the same time that they do that transfer, the central depository also transfer ownership of the receipt to the buyer, issues the buyer with a delivery note. The buyer can then go to our warehouse and then pick up their commodities. Once that is done, then we have a full cycle. Trade is completed. The whole operations of the Ghana Commodity Exchange is done. And then the back office guys will do whatever it is that they have to do to make sure all the paperwork and everything is in place, to ensure that all these operations is seamless. I hope the architecture is very clear. But I'm sure if you have any questions, I would attempt to answer them as we go along. And thank you very much for paying attention. And I think I'll hand over to Ellie now. Sorry, I'll hand over to Prince now, and then I'll take questions if there's any. So Prince, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Robert, for the wonderful presentation. I think for those of us who knew nothing about the commodities exchange, we have a fair idea of what the exchange does. However, there are a few questions, people seeking clarification on certain things, so I'll just go through them.
Okay.
The very first question is from Kofi. Kofi wants to know what technology is being used to manage the exchange.
Okay. Can we take a few more?
Okay, sure. Manny is asking, is the Ghana Commodity Exchange the same as the Ghana Stock Exchange? And then there is a third one. In simple terms, can you tell us the difference between a spot commodity exchange and a futures commodity exchange?
Okay.
Is that okay? Or I should go on?
No, you can go on. If I get like five, maybe you can stop it.
Okay. Joseph is asking, how does one become a member of the exchange, either an individual or a company? And then the fifth one will be, how does the introduction of the exchange help standardize prices of commodities in our local markets? That is Makola, Agbogbloshie, KJT. How does the exchange help stabilize prices of commodities? So I think that's fine.
So can I answer this for now and then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what technology is being used by the exchange? So we have our own proprietary technology that's been that we've acquired to run the whole exchange trading platform. I'll be able to share too much details on what it is for obvious reasons, but it's a technology that has been purposely configured to be able to do all the operations that I've just described to you. So I think with that, that's where I'll leave it. Maybe if Kofi, you want more information on that, you could visit us. Could sign the NDA, and then I could get the IT guys to give you more details if you need that. I hope that is okay. Now, is the GCA the same as the Ghana Stock Exchange?
Okay,
No.
no.
And so
And
that's
so
what I
that's
try
what
to
I try
explain.
to explain.
Please, I'm
Please,
getting some echo. Yeah, I don't know
yeah, I
if
don't.
anybody's mic is on. Okay, great. So the Ghana Commodity Exchange, as the name signifies, is a commodity exchange. And I explained what a commodity is. And I explained what a commodity exchange does. The Ghana
Ghana
Stock
Stock
Exchange,
Exchange.
the Ghana Stock Exchange deals in stocks. Okay, when we talk about stocks, we're talking about shares, or they deal in financial instruments that are intangibles, such as shares, bonds, and others. So that's the stock exchange. So we are two different entities, although we are all exchanges and we all trade um, certain instruments on the both platforms, except that whilst the Ghana Stock Exchange is trading shares or bonds um, of companies or the government, we are actually trading commodities, or we are trading the standardized contracts that are backed by commodities that are in our warehouses. The difference between the spot and futures. Now, as I explained, with the spot exchange, delivery is against payment. So what we have here in Ghana is a spot exchange. That's why when you buy, from the presentation I did, when you bring your commodity to our warehouse, we actually keep the commodity there, and then it's traded, and the seller gets their money, that's the payment, and the depositor goes and then the buyer goes and then picks up the commodities from the warehouse. Now, with the futures exchange, that's not what happens. There may not even be a delivery, but before the contract is designed, there has to be an agreement on what the price is at that time of a commodity to be delivered at a later stage. So, for example, we could decide that maybe in 6 months' time. So, let's say I have a futures contract for 6 months, May. We agree on the price today. That listen, in 6 months' time, I'll take delivery of this particular 1,000 bags of maize, but the price is going to go for 10 cedis. It doesn't really matter whether the price goes up or down. You still have to pay the amount that has been agreed on, but delivery will be at a later stage. And with futures exchanges, you get to, these contracts can exchange hands as many times as possible. So the originator of that contract or the initial purchaser of that contract may not even be the one that takes delivery of the commodity at the end of the day. So I don't know if that also helps you in simple terms to understand the difference between a spot and futures market. How does one become a member of the exchange? As I as I explained to you earlier on, the exchange is a membership-based organization, so we have some licensing requirements to be a member. So first of all, you can contact us on the number that you see on the screen right now, 0302937677, and then we'll run you through the membership application process. But in simple terms, just for the purposes of this, we have a form that you need to fill that will ask certain details about yourself. It's like a KYC, that's knowing your client kind of form. And then you end up having to pay certain application fees, and then you become a member. Now, before we activate your membership, we let you undergo some IT proficiency examination at the exchange to ensure that you'll be able to use our systems. Again, we take you through the various membership criteria that we have to determine whether you want to be a trading member, who is somebody who buys and sells for themselves, or you want to be a broking member who either buys for themselves or buys and sells on behalf of others. We have other criteria also that falls within either a trading member or a broking member, but with different entry requirements depending on the level of or sophistication of your company. So that is also that. I think if you visit us, which can or visit our website, you get more information, or call this number and somebody will take you through from my membership department. Now, how does the introduction of the GCS help to stabilize prices in the local market? Now, this is something that will be seen in not immediately, but in the long run. So, in the long run, what is going to happen is that um, once the price, prices on the exchange, because those commodities have undergone certain quality control measures, are usually a little higher than what is being sold in the market. So there's always a premium on it. But then remember again, during the earlier presentations that I made, I explained to you, or during the scenarios, I explained to you how on an exchange, because it's organized and it's transparent, there's always limits as to how high a price can go within even a single day's trade. We call them the price limits. Now, these price limits over a period of time helps the system to stabilize itself. So you realize that in the local market, so for example, if we are buying a bag of maize on the exchange for say 100 cedis, and the local market is selling that same bag of maize for, let's say, even 110, let's say it's higher than what's on the exchange, you get people coming to the exchange to buy, and it will to force those prices to come down. On the other side, to the reverse side, if the prices on the exchange are higher than what is down there, then what is in the local market, because of that premium that people are getting because of the quality, it will help the quality in those markets to also come up. So over a period of time, normally, in the introduction of an exchange, after about 3 years, you realize that the price curve now starts to shaping up, and that's when you can now start even talking about having a futures market in the system. I don't know if I've helped answered all 5 questions.
Yeah, I think you've given us a very clear response,
Okay.
giving us a better understanding to those questions. Okay. We have another set here.
Okay.
Kofi is asking, are there any plans to start futures trading on the exchange?
Okay.
And then Samuel is also asking, how do investors make money from the exchange? How do you start? And then what is the minimum investment you can make? That's from Samuel. George is asking, does the warehouse accept perishable goods like tomatoes? And then the same George is also asking if the commodity insurance covers damages to goods aside from flood and fire. And
Sorry,
then
that one again.
does the insurance cover any other damages aside those caused by flood and fire?
Okay.
And then the fifth one is, what are the charges or fees for both the buyer and the seller on the exchange? What are some of the charges? And are there any custom duties to be paid?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any plans to start futures? Like I said, yes, there are plans to start a futures exchange in Ghana, but you will not be able to have a futures exchange if you do not have a spot exchange, so that you can have that price curve, okay, appropriately, going up, so that people can actually plan and price that commodity that will be delivered at a later stage today. So with our plans and the exchange, we are looking at, from the 4th year of existence of the exchange, to start looking at having a futures exchange in Ghana. But we need to have that price curve up and running before we can attempt to have a futures exchange. So again, the caution here is, when you read the literature, always keep in mind that we have spot and futures exchanges. A lot of the exchanges around the world are futures exchanges, and so they are different from the spot exchanges, although there are a few spot exchanges also around the world. So when you are reading the literature, just be careful what it is that you are reading. Now, the next thing is, investors make money. So I believe the person who asked this question is probably looking at it just like the way the stock market is. So our investors here are the buyers and the sellers. Okay. So the buyer makes money by selling their commodity. The investor makes money or the buyer makes money by buying the right quality and quantity of the commodity that they want to go and sell. So basically, that's what it is. But if you are talking about investors generally, which is a topic for another day on investing in the value chain. Yes, people can invest in the value chain through infrastructure, warehousing equipment, logistics, all kinds of stuff can be opportunities can be created in there. So the person who asked the question, look at it this way: with unlike the stock market where you have an investor going to buy, let's say, shares, waiting for prices to appreciate so that they can get the capital gains or get dividends when dividends are declared by the company, among other things. Here, the seller knows what he wants to, the price at which he wants to sell his commodity. He sells it, he makes his money. The buyer, you can call it that capital appreciation. He knows what he wants from there. He knows what his profits are going to be. That's the price he quotes. The buyer also knows how much he needs to buy it for so that he can sell or process to make money. Um, does warehouse accept perishable goods? No. So currently, I listed 5 commodities in the beginning of the presentation that we actually do rice, maize, soya, sesame, and what's the last one? We're doing, yeah, we're doing sorghum. So we do maize, soya, rice, sorghum, and then sesame. So if you look at this slide here in the right bottom corner, I've listed a commodity that is currently trading there, and all these are non-perishable grains. Now, to do perishables, first of all, doing perishables on a spot exchange may be quite suicidal because then you need storage facilities that can actually, that's on a spot exchange. Because remember, with the spot exchange, delivery versus payment. So let's say we want to do tomato, we must be able to store that tomato, and it has a shelf life and must be able to trade. So normally perishables are traded on futures exchanges, which makes it a lot easier. Okay, so again, we are not looking at it yet. We are doing the non-perishable for now. If we get storage facilities that can actually store a particular perishable item, we may attempt to do that on the spot market. But it depends on the dynamics after we do all the market analysis and all that. Now, insurance other than the flood. Oh, yes. So we have insurances against theft. We have all kinds of insurances. So that there's I think we have even about 6 or so insurance. But we do take insurance. We do have insurances against theft. We do have the performance guarantees against the quality and then the quantity of the commodities that we have in the warehouses. Then we have insurances on the building itself, and then we have insurances on the commodity itself. So, I mean, we do have various insurance packages. Now, charges and fees, um, and then any customs duty. Okay. So, yes, so the charges and fees um, are all enshrined in the contracts, like I showed you when I was showing you the warehouse receipt, for example. So, they are the mandatory fees that you have to pay. So, we have charges for, let's say, grading of the bags. We have charges for these figures are not the actual figures. This is just I think they are the actual figures. Then we have the receipting per metric ton figure. Then we have the handling. The handling is the loading and unloading fees that is also charged. Then we have the trading fee, and then we have the regulatory fee. So these are the compulsory fees that we have on the exchange. There are optional services that you can also pay for. So, for example, if you bring your commodity to the warehouse and it's insect infested, we do not allow or accept insect infestation in the warehouses because then it's going to contaminate all the other commodities that are in the warehouses. That way, we have fumigation sheds, and you can either fumigate it for you or you can take it back, go fumigate and bring it back. So there's a fee for that. There's fee for drying and cleaning. So let's say, for example, with maize, we take a minimum moisture of 13% and below. You bring it to our warehouse, it's about 15%. You either go and do sun drying or you use the mechanical dryers that we have at our warehouses to dry it. So these are the kind of fees that we charge. Now, the other question was any custom um, any custom duties? No, we don't. We don't do any custom duty. So when you buy from us and you want to export, then you go, once it leaves our warehouses, the responsibility is yours to go and then do whatever you have to do to ensure that you export it. But we don't charge any customs duty at our warehouses. Over to you, Prince.
Okay, thank you very much, Robert. There are still a few more questions, but before I proceed, I'd like to remind everyone that this webinar is streaming live on our YouTube channel, Invest in GH. So if you still have someone who is unable to join us on Zoom, please do well to share the live link that has been made available in the chat session to the person. And do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that whenever we go live, you can be notified. Also, like this video and all our previous videos if you enjoy watching them, just to support us. Thank you very much. Okay, so to the questions.
Yeah.
Ellie is asking, when will other commodities like metals and perishable goods be made available to be traded on the exchange? And then George is asking, can an individual buy agricultural produce from the exchange for domestic use, or does the exchange only exist for bulk purchases only? George is also asking, okay. Arthur is asking, in my line of duty, I travel a lot across the country. I see a lot of products going waste in rural areas. How can the exchange help me get these products to the public? And then, so that's 4, right?
No, that's 3.
That's 3. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think this has already been asked. Frederick is asking, what is the average monthly utilization capacity of the warehouse? And then there are a couple of questions about how foreigners can get involved in trading on the exchange. Are there any?
How foreigners?
Yes, foreigners can trade
Okay.
on the exchange. Is there an online platform? Are there any procedures they have to follow to be able to participate in the exchange?
Okay. So can I take this and then if there's any?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So how will other or when will other commodities be traded on the exchange? Now, bringing a commodity onto the exchange is also a very strategic business decision that the exchange takes. To bring one commodity, so let me give you an example. To bring a commodity onto the exchange, for example, maize onto the exchange, first you need to do the value chain analysis to understand the whole value chain of that particular commodity. Know who the buyers of those commodities are, who the sellers are, where they are produced, what the characteristics of those commodities are. Look at this, what the appetite of not just Ghanaians are, but other regional exchanges or other regional markets are for that particular commodity. Do all this and then meet with the stakeholders to agree on what the contract terms should be, whether we should bag them in 50 kgs or 5 kgs or 10 kgs or 20 kg bags, the kind of bag that you need to use, what kind of, all these things need to be done. And then you get to, after all this has been done, now you need the regulator to approve the contract itself for listing. Now, approval of the contract must also indicate, or the contract must also indicate where or which warehouse those commodities are going to be traded, which means you need to acquire those warehouses that the commodity is going to be traded from, and then make sure that those warehouses are certified. And I explained to you earlier on what goes into the certification of the warehouses. So it's a really strategic business decision. And so before the exchange decides to bring in any commodity, we do all this and then make a decision whether that commodity is a commodity that we want to deal with on the spot market, or maybe the characteristics are such that it will not work out on a stock market. Maybe we do not have enough storage facilities to deal with that commodity, and then we decide. So to the questioner there, the person who asked the question, it all depends on what would happen. Right now, we are looking at trading cashew on the Ghana Commodity Exchange. Just a couple of weeks ago, we did in trying to understand the value chain even better. We organized an auction system for our auction trade, reserve auction trade for cashew, which I'm pleased to say was very successful. And so these are some of the things that we do to bring on the commodity. So the next commodity that we are looking at is likely to be cashew, and then we'll look at other commodities depending on what the value chains tells us, analysis tells us. Can individuals buy for domestic use, or is it for only bulk purchase? So the minimum lot size that you can buy from the exchange is 1 metric ton. And so 1 metric ton is about a 20 of the 50 kg bags. So it doesn't make really any economic good for anybody to want to buy 20 bags of maize, for example, from the exchange for domestic use, unless you need it for domestic use. But on the exchange, the minimum lot size is 1 metric ton. So anything short of 1 metric ton, you will not be able to buy off the exchange. So normally it's those who buy 1 metric ton and above that patronize the services of the exchange. And then it's also cheaper, you know, on the economies of scales, it's always cheaper if you buy a lot than to come and buy just a few bags off the floor of the exchange. Waste. Okay, so the person who asked the question said he travels a lot and he sees waste products and he's wondering how he can bring them onto the exchange. So like I explained, those 5 commodities are what we trade on the exchange. Okay, so anything short of these particular commodities until we bring them onto the exchange, we may not necessarily be able to deal with them. But that said and done, the exchange is there to connect markets. So if those commodities are there and we have a request from a buyer who wants those particular commodities, and there's a seller who wants that, we could actually facilitate a trade, but not on the GCS trading platform, but facilitate a trade or connect the buyers of that particular commodity and the sellers of that commodity to be able to trade. So maybe you could visit us at the exchange or call the number and somebody will talk to you so that we see if it's something that we could help you facilitate. Average monthly utilization of the warehouse. So that would be very difficult to say sitting here because the commodities that we trade are about 5 different commodities, and depending on the warehouse in which those commodities are, and then also depending on the season. You see, because most of these commodities are also seasonal. So there will be a certain season or a period within the year where those warehouses will be basically lying, let's say, more or less fallow. There will not be that much commodities coming in, all those still commodities coming in or commodities in the warehouse that are being sold. But then you will not be getting a lot of throughput into those warehouses. So unfortunately, I won't be able to give you that. Listen, but from our own projections, we do every warehouse should within the year do about 2 or 2.5 turnovers. That's what we estimate. But I can't give you exactly what it is as we speak now. How foreigners can trade on the platform. So, like I said, it's a membership-based organization. So anyone who wants to buy off the floor of the exchange who is not a member can always contact us, and we could give them a list of the brokers, and then there can be a broker that can trade on their behalf on the exchange itself. We are now working with the Securities and Exchange Commission to get in place um, rules on foreigners, becoming members of the exchange. So for now, those who are members on the exchange are all local companies or Ghanaians, Ghanaian-owned companies or Ghanaians who have been given membership to trade on the floor of the exchange. We've had instances where we've had foreigners coming from Burkina Faso buying commodities off the floor of the exchange, but they bought through members or brokers on the floor of the exchange. So yes, anybody can participate on the exchange. All you need is to contact us. We'll link you up to a broker, and then you can always buy from the floor of the exchange. Over to you, Prince.
All right, thank you very much, Robert. We still have a few more questions, then we can conclude.
Okay.
The first one, okay, so there's a Robert also asking, can a business resource center under the Ministry of Trade and Industry serve as a representative in an operational area like KJB? If not, can the business resource center serve as a broker and charge fees for both the client and the exchange? So that's the first one. The second one is asking, does the exchange engage in both CIF and FOB transactions for the sake of international participants? CIF and FOB transactions for the sake of international participants. Then the third one is asking, is the Ghana Food Buffer Company a member of the exchange? If yes, do they meet the payment structure T+1, knowing how long government payments are done? And are the warehouses built by the Agric Ministry, or are they separate programs sponsoring the construction of warehouses? And there's another one asking, how can a private company that facilitates trading of agricultural produce benefit from the exchange?
Sorry, that one again.
How can a private company that facilitates trading of agricultural produce benefit from the exchange?
Okay.
Then the fifth one, how does the no,
But,
that was the fifth one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can.
Okay, so this one is asking, how does the exchange generate revenue to sustain itself?
Okay.
All right.
Generate revenue.
Yes. I think
Okay,
that
so
would be
the fifth one. How can a private company which facilitates
trade benefits from the exchange? Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is please the echo.
Oh, sorry.
Can a business resource center be a broker and charge fees? I'm not sure how the business resource centers under trade ministry works, but basically once they are able to get a membership from us to buy and sell on behalf of clients, yes, then they can. Like I said, our exchange is a membership-based organization. Anybody who comes there is either coming to buy or sell or do both. Okay, trading members buy and sell for themselves. So these are the processes. So they come, they buy the commodity themselves and take it away. Okay, and then go and use it for processing themselves. Or somebody who has the commodity and just wants to sell bulk, seller wants to sell. He doesn't want to sell on behalf of anybody. He owns the commodity and wants to sell. Then you have the broking members, who are those who buy and sell either for themselves or on behalf of others. So that, let's say, if the business resource center is buying on behalf of others, then they need a broking member license to be able to do so. But I'm not sure how it's constituted and all that. So what I'll do is to entreat the questioner to visit the exchange, okay, and then we could better understand what they do, and then see how best we can assist. Does the exchange something about CFO and FOB? So like I said, we don't do exports. People buy from us and they export. So in that case, we provide you with the quality and the quantity that you need, and then you have to undertake all the other trade issues that is international trade issues that comes with the trade. So when it comes to the CIF, FOB, LCs and all that, we don't involve ourselves in that. We just provide a platform where the buyers and sellers are linked together. There's a trade, and then you take delivery, and then you sort out the rest. Going into the near future, maybe as the exchange grows, we could also go for an export license. And then once we have regional warehouses that are big enough to keep commodities, that that volumes that need to go out, then we may um, do some of these things, but not now. Is NAFCO a member of the exchange, and does it pay within the T+1? Yes, NAFCO is an honorary member of the exchange. Um, we've done trade for NAFCO where NAFCO purchased some strategic grains from the floor of the exchange. And of course, the rules apply to everybody. So NAFCO also, like everybody, had to pay on time, pay even before the trade was done, just like everybody. So yes, the rules apply to everybody. And so once they've traded on the exchange, I can assure you that the rules was strictly applied, because the commodities does not belong to the exchange in any way. It belongs to the farmer who wants the money for the commodity. And so once we are promising him a T+1 settlement, that is what happens on the floor of the exchange. Warehouses built by the Ministry of Agric. So our warehouses are, the scenarios I showed you. It's a combination of 2, 3, and 4. So we have warehouses that were graciously given to us by NAFCO to use. So our warehouse in Tamale, our warehouse in Kumasi, our warehouse in Winchi was given to us by the Ministry of Agric, working through NAFCO for our use. But the rest of our warehouses in Wa, Sandema, and others belong to private individuals, and we have leased those warehouses to support our operations. So to that extent, that's where we are. But we are still working with government to acquire some of the one district, one warehouse facilities that have been built around the country, especially in those strategic areas that we have identified. And once we get them, yes, we'll use them for the purposes that we want to use them for. How can a private company that facilitates trade benefit from the exchange? So, like I said, I mean, if you are a private company and you buy and sell on behalf of others, all you need to do is come and register with the exchange as a member. And once you do that, you can then buy from the exchange and supply to whoever it is that you want to supply the commodities to. Once you get the quality that you want, the quantity that you want, price is right for you, you can actually buy from there. If it's to sell also, you can also sell, since you're a broking member, you can actually sell on behalf of your client. So yes, you can benefit from the exchange by registering as a broking member and then taking an opportunity to buy and sell on behalf of your clients on the floor of the exchange. It doesn't have to be local clients. I mean, if you have international clients and they want the commodity, you can actually buy from the floor of the exchange for them. The good thing about it is that we are selling standardized contract. So if you have a client that is telling you that they want a commodity that has certain moisture, the level, that has certain parameters, we at the exchange, once it meets our contract parameters, should be able to certify that for you, so that your buyer would also be happy that you got exactly what it is that they wanted, so that there will be no shortchanging over there. How does the exchange generate revenue? $1 million question. I was expecting that to even come first. So our revenue generation is very thin. The fees that we spoke about, somebody asked about the fees. That is the only fees that we get out of it is the trading fee from all that, and then the warehouse receipt issuance fee, cleaning, and yes, and then we get a grading fee. But when it comes to cleaning and others, they don't come to us, because those are being provided by the facility owners or the equipment owners who are adding value to the commodities to come to our warehouse. So this is one way of generating revenue, is from these warehouse operations that we have there. Then the other is for the trading itself, where we get a certain percentage, less than 1% of the trading fee from both buyer and seller. Um, I think in total it's about, I think it's 1.82 from both the buyer and the seller combined. That's all we get. So the more we sell, and the more we make money. There's a third leg that we also looking at, which will be, we've not yet started it, but that will be the market data, partnering with various institutions to give out market data and then maybe generate some revenue from that angle too. Again, another source of our revenue is in the membership fee that is being paid, application and membership fees. Also, we generate some membership, some revenue from that. But on the whole, the exchange was not set up although it's set up as a company and therefore is expected to make profit. It takes time for any exchange to start making profit because there's a lot of public good that needs to be done. There's a lot of help that needs to be given to our various stakeholders. And so once we're able to stabilize the market or organize the market, structure it well enough, then we'll be able to be talking about revenues in large sizes. Yep. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Robert. We appreciate the explanations that you've given us. I think there's just one question left so far.
Okay.
Who regulates the exchange?
Okay, the Securities
and Exchange Commission. Okay, all right. So now we have a hand raised. I'll mute them so that they can speak to you directly. And then I think just two. So we just do those two and then we can conclude. All right, so Kofi, if you can hear me, kindly accept to unmute yourself and then ask your question.
All right. Yeah. So thank you. Both Robert and Franks. My question is a quick one. So let's just say I have a company and we're interested in becoming a broker. I just wanted to know sort of, the average, the revenues that brokers are making. I mean, just a rough idea whether, it's profitable for sort of companies to venture into, and what Robert thinks the future looks like for potential brokers on the exchange. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kofi. We'll take one from Olivia, and then Robert can respond to both. Olivia, if you can hear me, kindly accept to unmute yourself. Hi, Olivia.
So what's with
Hello. Sorry. I think the thing is saved my daughter's name. That's why. Sorry, but this.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for the presentation. I have some feedback. Yeah. So thank you for the presentation. I was following the presentation from the beginning. You just spoke of the revenue for Ghana Commodity Exchange, and I was wondering. From your answer to that question, I realized it wasn't enough. So I just want to find out your generation there from these fees and charges. Basically your IGF, is it able to support fully? The commodity, your operations, is it able to support it? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Robert, now you can respond.
Yeah. So the first person was asking about whether I can talk about the revenues for brokers. I think it would be good if you visit us at the exchange and let's have a discussion. As I explained, the work of the broker is normally to buy and sell on behalf of clients. And so if you are able to get more clients, that's where you make more money. So you can pass by and let's discuss if that's okay with you. Future for potential brokers, I think the future is the commodity exchange actually, because Ghana, like most emerging markets or countries, have the potential of being self-sustainable using the natural resources that we have. We have a lot of land, and so agriculture is one of the big developmental tools that we have. And then we have all the other natural resources also that have potentials of being traded on an exchange. So I think the future for brokers is very high. This is a new line of business that is available. So I think you can visit us. We could have this discussion further. You could, I guess, I could get part of some of my team members to, run you through certain figures and all that. So just find time and visit us. Our doors are always open to anybody who can visit us, especially in this COVID area. If you can't, just contact us. We can arrange, an online discussion or something with you, and then we take it from there. Now, whether the revenue that we get is enough to sustain us, no, it's definitely not enough. Currently, as I said, the sole shareholder is the government of Ghana, so we are capitalized by the government of Ghana. And so that's how we sustain the operations of the exchange. Like I said, every exchange has this developmental stage. Okay, we need to organize the market, structure the market, ensure that everybody is aligned with the structure changes that we want to bring up. And then the exchange can then start getting the needed revenue that we need. In other jurisdictions, and I'm sure if you read around, you realize that exchanges are either started by governments, who support them adequately with resources for the first few years of their operations, sometimes about 3 to 4 years of their operations. And in some areas, the exchange is actually set up by the market participants themselves. Like, for example, in the South Africa case, for example, the exchange was set up not by the government, by the value chain actors themselves, and they funded the exchange throughout its stage. In a country like Ethiopia, the government, with the help of donor agencies, set up the Ethiopian Commodity Exchange and ensured that it was well capitalized to be able to do what it was doing. So yes, government supports us in as much as it can, but we keep also asking, like Oliver is asking for more to be able to do even more than we're doing now. So I don't know if that helps answer the two questions. Over to you, Prince.
Thank you very much, Robert. I think it does.
And then Prince,
Yeah.
So like I said, anybody who wants to know more about us can either visit the website or visit us at our offices. Okay, you can contact Prince and his team for the numbers. If you didn't get it on the live slide that I showed.
Okay. In the spirit of that, I'd like to make a few announcements. Yeah. So this webinar is proudly brought to you by Investingh. Investingh is the leading provider of financial news and education in Ghana. Over the years, our news, magazines, and more recently, webinars have been delivered to thousands of people in Ghana and beyond. We've had a lot of webinars in the past. So if this is your first time, or if you've missed any of our previous webinars, please do also visit our YouTube channel, Investingh on YouTube, and then subscribe to the YouTube channel whilst you are there so that you can be notified whenever we go live or have a webinar. Please do also like and share our videos with your colleagues, your friends, your family, so that they also get to learn more about the financial markets and how to take advantage of it. Also, the presentation for this webinar, as well as the contact details of the presenter today, Mr. Owoo, will be made available to all participants. In order to receive these documents and information, you would have to be a subscriber to Investingh. In order to subscribe, kindly visit our website, www.investinggh.info, www.investinggh.info, and get to the website. Just fill out your name and then provide an email address that we can reach you on, so that whenever we send correspondence, you will receive them. You may also join any of our WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups. The links to the WhatsApp groups have been made available in the chat section here. So if you just scroll up, you're likely to find the WhatsApp group link there. You can also visit our website, www.investinggh.info, and then you can find the WhatsApp links there. Click on it. If the group is full, just click on another link, and then you'll be able to join us. We'll try and make the group link available again so that you can copy and then share it with your friends, colleagues as well. If you want to reach out to our speaker, Mr. Owoo, or his partners, you can do that after the webinar with the information that we'll share with you. The recorded version of this webinar will be made available on our YouTube channel in the coming days. Maybe by evening, it should be available on YouTube for you to stream. So don't worry at all if you missed a part of this webinar, there is something that you didn't quite get that you would need clarification on. Just visit our YouTube channel, Investingh, and then you can watch the video. Don't forget to like the video when you do. I think that's all for the announcements. And Mr. O, before we leave, do you have any final words for us?
Thank you. I think no, please, can you mute your mic? Yeah, I think I'm very encouraged by the participation and then the questions that came up from this webinar series. As you are aware, the exchange is fairly new, and there's a lot of things that or learning that can be learned. I always tell people that this is arguably the only project or the only institution in the country, and I'm using the words advisably, arguably the only one that cuts across all sectors of the economy. It doesn't matter which part of the economy you take me to. If it's about health, of course, the quality of the commodities that we produce or we sell on the exchange is going to go a long way to improve our health. If you talk about creating employment, this is a new area of creating employment, because if you look at the farmer who was supposed to cultivate 100 but managed to cultivate only 10, sometimes people cultivate lesser because they are not even sure where they're going to sell their commodity. But knowing that there's an exchange that gives them access to more wider markets, people will be encouraged to produce more. It's going to encourage a lot of the unemployed people to go into agriculture or any of the activities along the value chain. And so I think that I'm happy for the opportunity to be part of this. And on behalf of the Ghana Community Exchange, I think it will be good if a lot of you visit our website and interact with us. Those of you who can visit us at the exchange, feel free, visit us so that together we can build an exchange that we can be proud of for Ghana. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Owoo. And viewers, thank you all for joining us today. Please be okay. So thank you all for joining us today. Our subsequent webinars will be announced in the WhatsApp groups and via mail to all our subscribers. So like I said, please do all to subscribe, register with us, and join our group so that you will be notified whenever we have another webinar. But it should be in the coming weeks, maybe in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We also have a pending webinar we've not forgotten about how to get a mortgage for your house. We will get back to it and then make sure we find an appropriate time and have that webinar. So thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye from us.
Bye.